What's up, everybody? This is the chosen individual here, and today I'm tired. You know what I'm tired of? I'm tired of re recording that stupid survival series video. You know what's the problem? I recorded it and I planned on editing it today. So the day that I'm recording this is the day after posting my DARF review, aka Discover Recording Research Facility. You should definitely go and watch. I mean, there's some passionate ranting and yapping, so yeah, if you like that, go ahead and check that out. But the thing is that I accidentally deleted the footage for the survival series in the process. Which means that all of my progress from the last week of survival series that I was gonna show you this weekend is it's fucked. It's fucked. It's gone. So I decided instead let's begin with the How to Master series, a series where we go over various topics in HBM and I show you their best setups and their best way to utilize them. And today, we're starting with an old, relatively unexplored piece of technology, being the research and breeding reactors. Now, there's going to be multiple sections to this video, and future chosen, say it with me. I will not forget to put in the chapters. Okay? I will not forget to put in the chapters. Because I did last time with the bedrock ore production video. Anyway, so I have this little pool. This video is going to be divided into sections. First, I'm going to talk about the basics. Then I'm going to talk about what you can do with the research and breeding reactors. And finally, I'm going to show you the my true tested seal of approval best method for being able to use the research reactor to its maximum potential. So let's begin with the basics, shall we? The research and breeding reactors are two separate items in HBMs Nuclear Tech Mod. You can craft the research reactor with 8 steel ingots, 4 technetium or cadmium steel alloy ingots, 2 DESH motors, 5 boron ingots, 8 lead plates, 3 cathode ray tubes, and 4 integrated circuit boards. Put that all into an assembly machine and you will get a singular research reactor. And with the breeding reactor, you need a breeding reactor core, 12 steel ingots, 16 lead plates, 4 reinforced glass, 4 asbestos sheets, 4 cadmium or technetium steel ingots, and another cathode ray tube. Once you have all these items, you might be tempted to put them down. And you can. As you can see, each of these structures are 3 blocks tall, which means that they are sort of a multi-block machine. And they are modeled. So, yeah. Now, once you have your breeding and research reactor, the first thing you're going to want to do is make yourself a water pool like this one right here. It doesn't have to be very big. I made this one so that it's a bit spacious so we can see what we're doing here. And what you want to do is grab your breeding reactor and place it down inside the water pool so that all sides are being covered by water. So essentially, you want the breeding reactor to be below the water level. You don't want it sticking out. You can't do it like this, because that will not work. Otherwise, the breeding and research reactors might melt down and cause some heinous. Now, for research reactors, you're going to grab your research reactor that you just crafted, and you're going to place it right next to the breeding reactor. No exceptions. It has to be directly on one of the sides of a breeding reactor core. And as you can see, it has a nice bubbling effect. And these two also have their own GUIs. which has information here for the breeding reactor, which says the reactor has to receive neutron flux from adjacent research reactors to be able to breed material. And that is true. If I put a research reactor here, it will not take the flux, which is unfortunate. But let me show you how to use this thing. You want to use your research, you want to open up your research reactor, and here you'll have a couple of stats and tools in its GUI. First is the flux stat. Now this information will tell you that the reactor has to be submerged in water on its sides to be cooled. The neutron flux is provided to adjacent breeding reactors, which means that all the flux produced by this reactor will be absorbed by this breeding reactor and will allow you to craft certain recipes. As for the heat, this reactor is fueled with plate fuel and it needs a neutron source to start. Now there are many different types of plate fuel. ATU 233, 235, mixed oxide, HEP 239, HES 326, radium 226 beryllium, and plutonium 238 beryllium. These two being neutron sources. Unfortunately, there aren't many others. There isn't for like thorium or something, but I guess if you have a problem with that, then I just need to get good, I guess. Anyways, so once you have your research reactor GUI open, you will notice that it has a lot of slots inside, and that is for plate fuel. Now, the most basic plate fuel is easily highly enriched uranium-235, which you can craft with a simple ingot of uranium-235 and an anvil. It has to be a ferro-uranium anvil, and it will give you an HU-235 reactor, a research reactor plate fuel plate. Only one though. And once you have your plate fuel, well, you simply put it in here. Make sure to fill all the slots. You can combine fuel if you want, but we'll talk about that later. Let's focus on the basics for now. Now, you have two neutron sources. Radium-226 beryllium, which is made with a billet of radium-226 beryllium, and plutonium-238 beryllium, which is made with a billet of plutonium-238 beryllium. Now, I'm going to use radium-226 because that's much easier and much cheaper. And now you have the setting to set the control rods for the research reactor. Now, the setting of the control rods largely depends on how much flux you need and the heat capacity of the reactor. So, for example, HEU fuel doesn't actually produce that much heat. So I would want to put the control rods at, say, 75%. As you can see, it has this little animation to show you that the control rods are in fact being withdrawn from the reactor. Once you do that, simply put your plate fuel in here and in here, and as you can see, these stats are starting to go up. We now have 320 neutron flux and 222 Celsius of heat, and it also emits this nice blue light, which I absolutely love. This is the type of light that should be emitted by something like a spent fuel pool. I'm pretty sure it's called Cherenkov radiation or something like that. I completely forget where it was mentioned. But yeah, you can see that as you can see at 75% control rods, we have those settings. Now, when you want to change the control rod setting, be careful. Public service announcement: the control setting that you currently have saves. So if I type in 35%, you'll see it'll give me 100, which we don't want. So what you want to do is press backspace until that shows 0%, then type in the number that you want and click save. And there we go. Now you can see that it put the control rods at 35%. Let me extract these to 100%. It's a good habit to get into. And as you can see, at maximum control rod extraction, we have 296 Celsius and 436 neutron flux. And all that flux is being absorbed by our breeding reactor. And as you can see, you can make recipes with this. Now, unfortunately, just one breeding reactor isn't going to be, just one research reactor isn't going to let you do many of these. And most of these are for breeding fuel. Later, I'll tell you some extra recipes that I recommend you add. just for kind of quality of life, since otherwise the material is a bit too hard to get. But that is subjective, and you don't have to do it if you don't want to. But we'll talk about that at the end. So you might say, well, how do you get more flux? Well, for one, you can simply make this fuel more powerful, like switching it up with some mixed oxide or high enriched plutonium 239. However, if you don't have access to those fuels, you can simply stack these research reactors. So as you can see, now I got two more research reactors, one at each side, except for the front, which is, well, kind of where we're going to be interacting with the breeding reactor. And I feel like there should be some sort of setting where you can interact with the breeding reactor, even, or well, maybe not. I don't know, because you can still interact with it from the top. But I just don't really like doing that. It doesn't really look good, in my opinion. So to get more flux, simply rinse and repeat. Let me just grab this highly enriched uranium 235, fuel up my other two research reactors, and let's set this to 100%. Start that. There you go, 436 flux. Whoops, I forgot to put it up here. Now, make note that this plate fuel will eventually deplete. Eventually, it will deplete, and you will need to reprocess it after cooling it into a spent fuel pool drum. Just place this here. There we go. We have a total of 1,308 flux from three fully extracted highly enriched uranium 235 research reactors. So now there are some recipes that you can make with the breeding reactor. Let me show you some of them. Most of them involving rods. Whoops. Rods. All of these. From the singular rods all the way to the quad rods, which can be pretty useful if you have a nuclear furnace. So for example, if I hover over this, you'll see that below it says worth 80 operations in a nuclear furnace. Now, the radioactivity or anything else doesn't really matter. All that matters is the amount of operations in a nuclear furnace. So I'm pretty sure the one that has the most is. Let me check. Is reactor grade plutonium. Actually, no, it's uranium 235. So yeah, if you want, you can also make quad rods out of nuclear waste, so you can reprocess your fuel through that and use that in a nuclear furnace, which is really, really good actually if you have loads of isotopes and need to smell a lot of things. Now let me show you some recipes. Let's pick a basic one. Let's say we want to convert some rods of thorium 232 into thorium fuel, because for some reason the way to get thorium fuel in large quantities is by irradiating it with 1,000 flux in the breeding reactor. Other than that, you would need uranium 233, which is a very rare isotope. So just stick with the breeding reactor. Simply grab the material that you want to breed and put it in there, and as you can see, the progress bar will start filling up, and eventually it will give us a rod of thorium fuel. Now, this will go faster if the flux is higher than needed. Now, the minimum for this recipe is 1,000 flux, but as you can see, we have 1,308 currently in the reactor. So that additional 308 flux, what it does is it will increase the speed of the recipe. So as you can see right now, the breeding reactor is pretty slow. It's taking a little time, but it's okay because it'll run passively and it will store these here. And as long as the plate fuel doesn't run out, the reactor will continue to run infinitely. So I'm just gonna make a quick pause to let this do its thing, and then I'll show you the results in about 5 minutes when this is done. It doesn't take that long, really. So I sped up the tick rate a bit so that it wouldn't take so long. It took about what, like 5 minutes, anyways. And we have 16 thorium fuel dual rods. So as you can see, it used up all the thorium-232 that we put in there. And then you can use this for other purposes, but I'm going to get rid of it for now. So now we go on to the next section of the video, which would be which would be talking about the uses for the breeding reactor and how useful it is. And well, I've already gone a head start on talking about that by talking about these rods. Now, these rods and this breeding reactor is what allows you to get some of the most exclusive rare isotopes in the mod, except for a few, of course. So, for example, we got tritium, a very expensive, very necessary isotope of, I'm pretty sure it's like hydrogen or something, which you can use in a bunch of recipes. You can see energy cores, custom nukes, lamps, assembly machines, and fusion. You need tritium for fusion. So, if you need large quantities of tritium, your best bet would be to breed high amounts of lithium in a breeding reactor or in something that I'll probably talk about when I talk about the fusion reactor, a lithium blanket. It's a bit complicated, but I'll talk about it later. Then we have cobalt 60, another very expensive, very important isotope, which is pretty useful, especially for making cobalt RTG pellets, which have a power level of 15 and decay to nickel RTG pellets. And it lasts for 7 years, 95 days, and 0 hours. Now, unfortunately, I don't think that there are many other uses for this isotope. I don't think you can. Yeah, no, you can't do anything else with it. Thorium fuel. I've already talked about that before. To make thorium fuel, normally you would need uranium-233 as well as thorium, something which many early game players don't really have. So this is pretty much your only option. Uranium-235, unfortunately, cannot be crafted. But you could implant a special recipe for that, and I'll show you that in a minute. Now we have Neptunium-237, which is useful for making Plutonium-238, which I'll talk about in a minute, and Neptunium billets, which can be used as PWR fuel, RBMK fuel, to make more rods. For Scribidium fuel, it has a bunch of uses, actually. It's very, very useful indeed and very necessary. Uranium-238, not that important. It can be bred into reactor-grade plutonium, however, but I mean, the Chicago pile does this so much better, so why would you ever bother with this, honestly? Nuclear waste, which is completely useless, other than for fueling the nuclear furnace, or since it's radioactive, a radiation-powered engine, but who uses that? Literally. Please, put in the comments one time you've unironically used a radiation-powered engine. Then we move on to lead, which is, I'm pretty sure, useless. Yeah, it's useless. It seems like HBM forgot to add recipes. Uranium rods, which can be irradiated into reactor-grade plutonium. But then again, the Chicago pile does this so much better. Why would you bother with this? Then we have radium-226, which can be irradiated into actinium-227, which can be used for more RTG pellets, more rods, and unfortunately you can't use that to breed anymore. So yeah, it's kind of a closed system, but there are other recipes that you can add, which we'll talk about in a minute. However, unfortunately, all these recipes require more and more and more flux. For example, radium-226 to actinium requires 900. And I'm pretty sure the recipe for plutonium-238 is even higher. It is I swear. There we go. 3,000 to turn plutonium-238 into plutonium-239, Another very expensive, very useful isotope, as you can see, can be used for PWR fuel, pressure bombs, RBMK, rods, reactor grade plutonium. It can be used for a doomsday missile, which sounds very reassuring. So unfortunately, your little setup won't be able to do something like, for example, that. And I think I missed some actually. Yeah, I missed plutonium 238, plutonium 239, and well, wasn't that interesting anyways. So as you can see, this is about to get depleted. So I might as well just show you how to reprocess all of its fuel. Just give it a second. And keep in mind that when this fuel depletes, your flux will go down. So make sure this is as topped up as is physically possible. Or you can just disable better voltaic fuel decay in the config. No one will judge you for that. RTGs and stuff is kind of a pain in the butt to make anyways. But yeah. So at 150 rads, as you can see, the flux went down massively, and the heat also went down massively, and it created depleted highly enriched uranium-235 plate fuel, which you have to cool in a spent fuel pool drum, and then you can use for various purposes. You can use it for a depleted uranium-235 box. You can use it to get neptunium, plutonium, technetium-99, which is actually very useful. And thinking about it, you should probably add a recipe to irradiate this, though I don't really know from what material. What precedes technetium on the periodic table? Periodic table. Technetium is preceded by. I can't find it. I don't remember where it is. Let me search for it. Hold on, just give me a second, okay? Don't click off yet. Damn it! I swear it was around. What is technetium's a sign anyways? Isn't it like TC or something? Ah, there we go. It is preceded by molybdenum, which I'm pretty sure is a rare earth metal that is not present here, unfortunately. And that is preceded by niobium. So you could make a case for irradiating niobium into technetium if you don't have a knowledge about chemistry like me. Or you can just centrifuge it from spent fuel. And, well, that creates a tiny pile of nuclear waste too. So, yeah. All right, now let's get on to the good stuff, the stuff that you came here for, and that is to show you what is the singular, in my research, best setup for using the research reactor and to get the most flux out of it possible. So let me just ask for it. Hold on, let me get the fuel out of the other reactor. Okay, let me put this to zero so that our fuel doesn't instantly melt down and destroy everything. By the way, I'm using new audio config, so if the audio sounds better, then good. Please let me know. If it doesn't, then well, that's a bit unfortunate. Anyways, oh yeah, plate fuel. You're going to need let me see. You're gonna need 4 MOX plate fuel, 4 highly enriched plutonium 239, and 4 highly enriched scrubidium 326. So you're gonna arrange them like this. Yeah, like that. Arrange them like this. And what this will do is it will create a composite fuel core. If which you can say if you want people to know, if you want people to think that you know what you're talking about. This will create a composite core. Then we're going to get a plutonium-238 beryllium, and we're going to raise these control rods to 73%. Do not raise them above or below because it will melt down. This is extremely unstable and definitely not regulation, but it works. And then simply start up your reactor. As you can see, boom, 1,440 flux, which is more than our entire setup got last time in a singular reactor. That's crazy. So let me just grab all this other plate fuel and oh nope, nope. And there we go. And recreate it here. There we go. Enrich rubidium. Set this to 73%. Plutonium to 38. As you can see, 1440. And the more flux you get, the more intense this blue light is. As you can see before, you could see the rods inside. Now you can. And that's how freaking intense this radiation is. And though I don't think it actually gives you any radiation values. I think it doesn't anyways. And if it does, just use a hazmat suit. It's not that hard. All right, put this to 73%. Boom and boom. And there we go. We have a total of 4,000, hold on, 4,320 flux for 3 research reactors filled up with this composite core design. And that will allow you to do every single recipe in the game at an extreme pace. So let me search up the thorium from before. You remember this? Watch how much faster it does it. I mean, it's not it's not like superfluously fast, but if you put a 4th research reactor, if you don't really care about looks, it will be significantly faster. So just I'm gonna put a comparison up on screen. There's no debate. This is so much faster. So yeah, that is pretty much it. And that is how you use these systems. Don't forget to put your control odds back down to 0 so that it won't passively spend your fuel. Because this fuel is very expensive and difficult to get. So yeah. Now to the last portion of the video where I talk about my recommended well, I just talked about the best setup, so I'm going to talk about my recommended recipes. Number 1, technetium. Number 2, americium from irradiating plutonium. That can be really useful since americium is really good, but hard to get, unfortunately. You could also, let me see, what other radioactive isotopes are there here? Wouldn't it be funny if we had like a potassium-powered reactor since potassium has a radioactive isotope? I don't know if it can do fission, but it might. Oh, gold 198. That is another very useful isotope, especially for RTG pellets. I find that it is easily the best and the easiest to get. I think there's also lead 209, but I don't remember how to get it, so I'm not going to mention it for now. And I'm pretty sure that's all. So yeah, that's my recommended recipes. I'm not going to show you how to add the custom recipes because, well, it's late and I've got to get to editing to see if I can get this out today because I'm going to be busy tomorrow and I promised a video on Minecraft. So yeah. But aside from that, that is how to master the research and breeding reactors. As you can see, this video is going to be pretty short because there isn't much to talk about in reality. But congratulations, you may now collect your certificate of completion of the course on research and breeding reactors for HBMs Nuclear Tech Mod and call yourselves the Masters of Nuclear Engineering. At least when it comes, well, you can now get one step closer to calling yourself a disciple of the greatest nuclear engineer that's ever lived. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you found this useful and type down below in the comments if you found this useful and what ideas you would like to see me do next. I was thinking of doing Xernox next, so we're kind of scaling up in tier of reactors. But I found out that Xernox also doesn't really have a lot to talk about, especially with early setup since, Well, that's its own kind of worms. But there is some interesting things to talk about relating to Zernox, which kind of needs a rework now. I'm sad. Zernox was such a cool concept, and it was pretty much trashed. It's not been updated. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if HBM came out saying it's going to be deprecated. Anyways, so yeah, that's it. Remember to like and subscribe and join my Discord, which will be all down below. This has been the chosen individual, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out, gamers.